Good morning. We are live in my kitchen due to the quarantine that's going on right now. So it's been a while since I've been able to teach and educate my peeps at the salon. So today we're going to introduce a shorter haircut followed by a possible color in the next video. So today we're going to do a haircut based on shortness. And shortness I don't mean by taking it super close to the head, but by building a shape. What do I mean by shape? Well, if you look at the outer edge of your haircut, can you see a defined shape in that is what I mean. Most people, that I've experienced training that are new become, complacent on doing extensions and hair color. But to me, if you can't build the shape and know what the shape's gonna look like, you can't really color a shape, right? So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna break down a haircut. It's gonna be more of a wedgier haircut mixed between a shag. So it's gonna be called a show wedge. TM that. First of all, we need to understand the principles. And principles, I mean where the hair lives on the head. So if you're Redken based, you'll understand this. So we're gonna start by figuring out where the fringe lives. So fringe typically happens from the corner of the eyebrow and up. So if I take Becky here, and excuse my back here, and I comb down directly where her eyebrow lives, and blouse up, see where that naturally splits? That's where her fringe is going to live. So we're gonna comb this out of the way and get to the other side here. Same thing on the other side. What you're gonna wanna do is stand right behind the corner of the eyebrow, comb everything into natural fall, grab it, pinch, and split that. Wherever that naturally splits, right there, that corner of the eyebrow is typically where that fringe is gonna wanna live. So what we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna wanna take a duckbill clip, which is one of these guys here, and we're gonna wanna clip that away just because we're gonna do something very special in the fringe here. Side of the haircut typically happens right behind the ear or right at the ear. So stand directly behind your section, and due to the fact that I can't stand behind the section because I'm recording, I'm gonna stand right out of the way here. So it's important that you don't grab too much hair. I'm gonna blouse that up. And wherever that splits right there is going to be where the side happens. So this is very important because a lot of times when we cut the side and we're going short, we tend to overcut the side. So we're going to make sure that this is completely clipped out of the way with the duckbill. And the duckbills are better to use because they keep the sectioning very clean. So same thing on the right side. What you're going to want to do is get rid of the side. And again, that's going to happen directly at the ear or just behind the ear. It's going to vary based on the mannequin head you have. And my mannequin head happens to be a pivot point, not that that's a right or wrong reason, but just that's what I chose to use today. So we're gonna get this out of the way, and then your sectioning is gonna look like this. You got the side, you got the fringe, and now we're gonna find out where our nape lives. So if anybody knows how to find out where the nape lives, that's good for you, but most people probably don't. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set the comb on the back of the head. Wherever that comb starts to leave the head is typically where the nape happens. So I'm gonna put my index finger right in the corner of the ear, and I'm gonna put my comb right where the nape lives, which is right there. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna meet the comb with my finger, and we're gonna clip all this stuff away. And it's very important that we have very clean sections, because if we don't, we're gonna tend to take more hair and over-direct in sections that we don't want to. So it should take typically longer to section off your hair cutting than it should to actually cut the haircut, because we've all been cutting hair for a long time, and I think that when it comes down to it, we want to rush through the haircut. But in this situation, we're not gonna want to. Now we have to determine what length we want. The length I'm gonna choose today is gonna be slightly below the hairline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to comb this directly down, and I'm going to pinch everything towards the center of my section and going to twist the hair. Now, I'm not going to twist the hair any more than 3 times, otherwise we'll get too much texture, too much frayedness going on in here. And all I'm going to do is with light tension is literally take and vertically stroke down the section there. And the lighter that you do it, the frothier the ends are going to be. And now I want the ends to be very, very frothy, so I want to do longer strokes when it comes to that. So I'm just going to go through it and even this out a little bit. Just taking long strokes. All right, so there we have an established length, right? So now we're gonna go into here, and typically when you do this, you're gonna have certain elevations that we use. We're gonna go outside the box and imagine that this is our guideline, right? So my first section that I'm gonna cut is gonna go up horizontally to my section, and I'm gonna horizontally chew it with my blending shears. Now, the blending shear of choice that I choose today is gonna be something called a 4420. So it's a barbering shear, or texturizing shear, but the goal behind this is that you wanna be directly behind your section, and when you comb into this, you wanna make sure that you comb up to your section and don't go above the horizontal, which is my section that I'm at now. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna chew out diagonally. And how am I gonna know where my guideline is? My guideline is gonna be that short piece that falls out. So everything above that is what I'm gonna be chewing away here. So I'm gonna come in. I would be right behind my section, but since it's a little bit difficult with shooting this myself, I'm gonna go through and chew this off. And the key is to constantly keep your fingers moving. And again, what we're doing is seeing those short pieces that are falling out there, that's what we're gonna be removing. And just go through and continuously until you see that hair as short as it's supposed to be. And notice how my comb is very square to my section. It's not rounding the corners. It's always square. So now if I turn the corner like that, that would be cutting away my complete section there, and I don't want to do that. Again, what we're going to want to do is we're going to come into this, make sure our body is square directly behind our sectioning here, and I'm going to comb this up, and wherever my long pieces are, I'm going to chew those out, remembering not to go above my horizontal section in here, and making sure that we don't round our corners here. So stay directly behind your section, your comb is parallel to your section, and as soon as you stick that comb in and you see those long or short pieces starting to fall out, you're going to want to chew those pieces out. And the key is to keep this shear constantly moving. And what you're doing is you're creating yourself what we call in our world a scooping kind of haircut. So what that means is that at our section, it's going to leave a nice weighted line, and it's going to scoop out all that weight that's going down on the bottom there. So it leaves the ends very shaggy, but it leaves the length alone, and it gives it nice weight that's going on in there. The next section that I took was 2 fingers width above the previous section, which happens to land at the top of the ear. So with this, it's up to you, because we're outside of the nape now, which is where the length lives, whether you want to continue to do the same elevation or you change your elevation up. And that just depends on whether you want more weight or whether you want it to be more shaggier. So I'm gonna choose to go through and do everything very weighted and not shaggy throughout the nape area here. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take vertical sections that are about 2 fingers width in width, and comb out what I'm not doing. And what we're gonna use as a guideline is we're gonna use the bottom length. Everything is gonna be held below the horizontal section, diagonally below, so I can build up weight but still have it soft with the layering to it. So I'm gonna stand on the side of my section because my elevation is best seen from the side. So I'm gonna go through and comb it down into my elevation, and as soon as I see that length, I'm gonna go through and chew that off with the tip of my shear. Now, I'm choosing to move towards the left of the head, so what I wanna make sure is that my thumb is pointing to the direction that I'm going into. So, first section is cut. The next section I'm gonna do is 2 fingers width going towards the left. Comb in vertical sections, 2 fingers width, and comb out what we're not using so we don't end up tangling that in there. And again, we're gonna go diagonal below the horizontal, which is the section I'm working on. Look for my guidelines and go ahead and chew that off. So you can start to see the elevation that's going on in here. So again, we're gonna move towards the left. Now we're back by the back corner of the ear here. So here's where a lot of mistakes happen. What we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna wanna over direct it towards the hairline. So if we take a look at this mannequin head here, the back corner hairline starts right in here. So what we're gonna wanna do is over direct my section to that hairline so there's no vacant space in there. So I'm gonna turn my mannequin head so you can kind of slightly see that. So comb down vertical, brush away what we're not using so we don't cut where already what we cut. And then we're gonna comb into our elevation, which is diagonal below the horizontal with a diagonal out finger angle. We're gonna make sure that we cut that off. And there we go. So we can kind of start to see where the shape is taking place. Our next section is going to be the crown. So that 2 fingers width above that next section down. And here, I built up enough weight for myself. So what I wanna do now is I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna start elevating above my section, which is called scooping in our world. So again, I've created enough width in the nape there where it's gonna look like a nice shape. So I want to start working on busting up some of that weight that's going to happen at the round of the head here. So my elevation is going to be diagonal above my horizontal sectioning, and it's going to be with a vertical finger angle because I want to collapse a lot of that weight. So standing on the side of my section, because my sectioning can be best seen from the side, and what we're going to want to do is just stick the comb in there right away, fingers go butt up behind it, and we're going to elevate into a diagonal hair position here. And we see the hair there. We're gonna go ahead and take that off with the tip of your shear just to kind of cut it a little more blunt because this hair tends to be finer, so it needs some chubbiness. And again, we're gonna work our way towards the left of the head, so my fingers should be pointing towards the left. Combing down vertically and then combing away the stuff that we don't need. Standing on the side, put the comb in, directly comb up, and as soon as you see that first piece fall out, go through and take that out because we don't need that. And that's going to be your crown section. So this is what my elevation's looking like so far. So you can tell that everything scoops in quite closely towards the bottom nape area and then it elevates quite a bit out there. So again, if you chose to leave more weight and not elevate like I did, it's not going to be as soft in there. So now we're working into the top section of our haircut here. So the top section is going to be the most important because we are going to take everything above that section and comb it up vertically. Why is that? Well, I want to create a very short interior shagginess to it. So again, working with 2 fingers width sections here, we're going to comb down, comb away what we're not using because we tend to grab a lot of the hair and cut it at the same time. And this is about building your dexterity a little bit. So completely come up vertically. And as soon as that first piece falls out, which is right there, we're going to want to cut that off. And that makes it very short. So again, moving towards the left of the head. Vertical sections no bigger than 2 fingers width. Comb away what you're not using, and you're using the guideline from the previous section there, and combing everything up vertically. And that's going to be seen from the side. So if you're standing behind your section, you're not going to be able to see where that's, laying or if that's being held vertically or not. So again, take that section off. We're cutting it off pretty blunt because we're seeing a lot of the short, choppy layers that are into hair cutting now. So we want to make sure that we're going through and creating what's current. So again, vertically comb up. Wherever that piece first leaves is where you're going to want to cut that off. And I'm going to determine where I want the length. So just below ear, I'm going to take it and exactly how we did it in the back nape, we're going to twist it 3 times. And we're going to make sure that we don't go through and we elevate out. Because if we elevate from the head and pull it towards us, we're going to end up creating layering. Because the more that you elevate, the more that you layer, right? So holding it with little to no tension. And I'm just going to go through just below the ear with long vertical strokes. And I'm going to take that length off. Now, I'm not looking for 100% evenness because if I need something to be more even, as I dry it out, I will go back through and tweak anything I need to be tweaked. So again, if there's any loose pieces, just go through, take those off. It's really up to you whether you want it to be short or long, but there we go. We blended that in now. So do the exact same thing on the opposite side, but now we're going to go through and layer it. Now it's very important because the hairline in the front is different from what the back is. So What do I mean by that? Is the hairline's up further, there's less hair, the hair tends to be weaker in the front and finer. So I'm gonna take about half of that section, just above the corner of the eyebrow, into the back behind the ear, and create myself a horizontal section here. So typically how I like to do this is I like to take a guideline from the back of the ear. So I'm gonna comb this vertically down, and then comb away what I'm not gonna be using. So we're looking at something like this. So here's my length from the back. I'm gonna use that as my guideline for the front. So I'm gonna comb everything back into diagonal below the horizontal with the diagonal up finger angle. There's my length. I'm gonna chew that away to blend in the back to the side. And yes, you will be taking a little bit of length off your corner pieces. That's completely fine because I want it to be shaggy and melded. So now that we have that guideline established, we're gonna take 2 fingers width above that next section here, horizontally, combing away what you don't need. And then we're gonna go right into scooping again. Scooping means that you're combing above the horizontal section, that section that you just sectioned off. And we go above that, so we're gonna comb into our elevation, all the way up. There's my short piece, there's my guide. I'm gonna cut that off. Perfect. All right, so what we're gonna see is we're gonna see weight and then shag towards the bottom here. So the next section is gonna be my top because there's not that much hair. We're gonna comb everything down. And then vertically comb away anything that we don't need, right? And then we're gonna take this next section and we're gonna comb it up diagonally, which is scooping. And we're going to take away the length in there that we don't need. Perfect. So now, remember how in the back or the top section there, we created really short pieces? So guess what? We're gonna create that same thing. So we're gonna take a horizontal guideline from the back, all the way towards the front, and we're gonna comb that all the way up. And wherever that short piece falls out is where you're gonna cut that. And that's gonna be cut short on purpose because we want some shortness in there. Now do exactly the same thing on the left side. We are now in the fringe section. The fringe lives corner of the eyebrow up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna comb everything down into its natural fall position. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take about 2 fingers width horizontally and section that off because I don't wanna deal with all this hair at once. But notice how I have the sides completely combed away. So on the fringe here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create ourselves a guideline, right? I'm combing everything towards the center of the nose. Twisting it 3 times. And I'm gonna step on the other side here. And what we're gonna do with little to no tension in the center of the eyebrow is just lightly with the crotch or a shear, just go through and trim this off. And our guideline's gonna be just at eyebrow or just above the eyebrow. Sometimes we see that really cute short fringe. Well, guess what? That's created by cutting it very frothy and very short, but not too short. And typically, if you want to know how short you can go, I always say take the hair and push it and bend. Wherever it starts to bend, you don't want to cut above that. So that's creating us very short, cute fringe. And again, leave away the sides because we're going to do something with the sides in a second. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take everything above that point down. So we have this length here. Now, like the top section, we cut everything short. So now that we established ourselves the guideline, what we're going to want to do is comb all that guideline, which is the length and the fringe, all the way up vertically. And we're going to want to chew that off. So go ahead and cut, 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 cut. Now you don't have to say cut, 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 but I think it's a little motivation. All right, so we're gonna go back through and just check to make sure everything is nice and even by combing everything up. There's some short pieces, I'm gonna cut that away. brush that back down, and there we have some short, cute fringe. Now, another way that I can cut these to make it look very, very frothy, and typically I would do this when it's wet, when it's dry, is I will comb everything down in a natural fall, and I will go through, and wherever the hair starts to bend, I'm gonna cut just with the crotch of the shear. You're gonna go through as you channel down and use your thumb and just cut on a diagonal and remove some of those waves and create some chunkiness in here. All right, for the sides now, what we're gonna do is that we have some blocky sides here. So what I'm gonna do without any elevation is comb down, and with the tip of my shear, I'm gonna go through and just cut bluntly a curved line. So I'm cutting a curve with the tip of my shear here. And what that does is that creates a little bit of closeness but softness on a diagonal so that it frames her face quite a bit. And we'll do the exact same thing on the opposite side. We're gonna go through and we're gonna cut with the tip of the shear a curved line to just blend the sides in a little bit here. All right, I'm gonna blow dry this out and I will show you what I'm using. All right, so we just finished blow drying this, and when I blow dried this, what I did is I kept the tension from the round of the head down very tight to the head. Didn't use a round brush, just organically blow dry this. Same thing with the fringe. And in the back, you can really see where I went through and left that weight that was in here. So if you chose to not elevate as much, that's fine. You'll just get more of a wedgier haircut. But you can see that the corners are nice and shaggy. So I went through at the end and just kind of tweaked it by softening up some of the back of the haircut here. But what I used to prep this is the new extreme lengths. Now, if you don't have this in your bathroom, you should have it because it does repair the bonds and helps the hair grow. And in her case, it's not gonna grow back. Once I cut it, it's gone. I also use the Pureology Clean Volume. It's a good way to get volume without having to have that extra stickiness to it, so I highly suggest this one. And then after I blow dried her, I simply just took a little bit of the instant frizz dismiss here and worked it through the hair. Also with the wax blast, that's what kind of gave it that textury finish to it. So if you just take, lift, pinch, and spray the hair, it'll automatically bring out a lot of the layers that are already in here. So I love that. And it's like one of those holds where it doesn't have a lot of hold to it, but if you choose to keep reapplying as it dries into the hair, you'll get a very soft finish. But I just love when I can see softness in like right in here. It's amazing. You know, everybody's always after, you know, what shape would look good on me. You know, a lot of women are scared of wearing shorter haircuts. So if you did a mannequin head like this and set it out on your station and just let them view that, they're gonna look at that as being sexy and soft and not in that category of maybe looking a little too manly. And manly haircuts come from, you know, not having a design or a shape. You know, it's being cut way too short. So if you liked what you see, tune in. I'm gonna come up with another haircut and possibly color this haircut after I'm done here. So take care, happy quarantine day, have a quarantini for me, and I'll see you later.